if you would.
Okay, Russ Randall,
I'm here.
Rachel Simaconda,
I'm here.
Susan Purrington,
Present.
Keith Becker, Sarah Dorman,
Here.
Michelle Eisenberg. So it looks like just Keith and Michelle haven't joined us yet.
And thank you, Mariah, for taking roll for us. All commissioners should have their microphones on mute to keep the background noise out of the chat room. The chair of the meeting will ensure everyone has an opportunity to speak if they would like. Commissioners should use the chat function to inform the chair they would like to make a statement, and the chair will announce the commissioners to speak in the order in which they appear in the chat. And in the interest of accessibility, we ask that speakers at the meeting today to turn on their cameras when speaking. First off, we should approve minutes from our previous meetings. And Mariah, thank you for getting out the minutes from both our meeting on November 22nd and last week's meeting on December 20th. And I'm thinking everyone has had a chance to review those minutes. So at this time, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the commission meeting on November 22nd.
I'll move.
And do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you for that. And is there any discussion with regards to approving the minutes from the meeting on November 22nd? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Do we have any opposition or abstention? That passes unanimously. And then the chair would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our work session on December 20th.
I'll move.
And do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Do we have any discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes from our meeting on December 20th, please say aye.
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 Aye. Do we have any opposition or abstention to that motion? That also passes unanimously. And then next up, do we have information items that needs to be shared from any of our commission members? Susan, nothing?
Nothing at this time.
Sarah?
Nope, I was quiet.
And Rachel, do you have anything to share, maybe specifically from the working group?
I don't, we have not really had a full working group through the holidays, and so there hasn't been a lot of movement on anything that we're doing.
Okay, thank you for that, Rachel. And I don't know if that should be a separate regular agenda item at our meetings or not. I know that working groups are supposed to report back to the commission, and I don't know, Mariah, should that be a regular agenda item for our meetings?
They would be able to participate under this item, whether it's listed or not. So it's really just your preference.
Okay, sounds
Russ,
good. Yes, Rachel?
Keith is waiting to be let in.
Ooh. Mariah, can you?
I don't see anybody in the waiting room.
All right, let me send him a text.
I
Here's
also got,
Joseph.
Joseph is in? Excellent.
Sorry guys, I was looking all over for the link. I am so sorry, Mr. Randall. I am so sorry.
You're good, Joseph. And
I'm stressed out. I'm so sorry.
You're good, Joseph. We're gonna call on you to report in just a minute, okay?
Okay, I can take a deep breath. Thanks.
So you can take yourself off camera.
Oh yeah. And the camera's right here, and the mic.
Thanks, Joseph. So was Keith able to get in, or?
I just sent him another message. He just said that he's still in the waiting room. I don't think that he had anything to report here, Russ.
Right.
Oh, he's restarting his Teams.
Okay.
I just resent him the link as well.
Thanks, Mariah, and Rachel, thanks for helping to get him in. I'm looking to see if we have the mayor with us today.
We do not.
Okay. I was going to ask for a council update from the mayor. I guess I'll ask you, Mariah, and or Stacy, because we have Stacy here. But I know last week when I checked with you, Mariah, the city council has received the 2 letters from our commission that we would like the council to consider. And those 2 letters, the one letter was to contact the NEU Center for Service and Volunteerism to increase the city volunteer base. And then the second letter we sent was asking the council to consider facilitating corporate social responsibility events where employers would be contacted about enlisting volunteers as well. And I know last week when I contacted you, the city council had not acted upon those letters. Do you know if they have yet, or?
They have not had a meeting since my last update to you.
Okay, so I guess I can report then to the commission that the city council has not acted upon those letters yet. And that would be accurate, right, Mariah?
Yes.
And then I think the city is going to be at least receiving a presentation about, I think from Stephen Thompson, about the Snow Heroes program on January 8th.
As the 9th,
Oh, January 9th. Okay.
Mayor Daggett did just join the meeting if you wanted to ask her.
Oh, excellent. Welcome, Mayor Daggett.
Hello, I didn't realize that we had a meeting today. I'm all on vacation mode, but I opened up my laptop and was like, oh, there's a meeting I better hop into.
Well, we're glad you jumped in, although we hate to take you away from your vacation, but.
Well, it's really more doing stuff around the house, so it's not like you're taking me away from anything too fun.
I understand that too. I have my honey-do list that I should be working on too, but so Mayor, we were just talking about this. We submitted 2 letters to the council. Somewhere a month ago, I think, or so. But the one letter had to do with we were requesting the council to contact the NEU Center for Service and Volunteerism as a way to increase the city's volunteer base and maybe specific to the Snow Heroes program. But has the council acted upon that yet?
No, and I would say actually that would probably be something for staff to do. And sorry, there's some work going on. I would say that would be something for staff to do, although I'm happy to reach out if it could take, if some convincing would help.
Sure. And I'm not sure who on the city staff that would be.
I think it would be Stephen with sustainability, but I'll forward the letter to him and I'll consider it handled.
Okay, thank you. And then the second letter we sent, I think, to the council had to do with if the council would consider facilitating corporate social responsibility events where employers would be contacted with regards to employee volunteerism.
Yeah, I can talk to Stephen about that as well. So thanks for reminding me. And I will get with him and I'll get back to you.
I appreciate that, Mayor Daggett. And then my last thing, we were just talking about this too, is that I think Stephen is presenting to the council on January 9th about the Snow Heroes program. And at today's meeting, we're going to ask our commission to kind of approve our assistance with the establishment of that program as much as we can, because of course we are huge supporters of that program. But then, has the city had any other discussion regarding sidewalk ordinance enforcement?
I have had a couple of meetings with staff about both the Snow Heroes and sidewalk stuff in general. And so pretty much the Snow Heroes, we just talked about the logistics of how it's going to start, and you all know all of that. And then how we'd like to see it expand. We kind of did some troubleshooting for some, areas where there might be hiccups. And the sidewalk issue, I mean, it's top of mind for Reggie and for the council. So, and Reggie did get some additional staff, although we all know that there could be 10 times as many staff in that area because we have such a big problem. But I will also encourage staff in our social media area to prepare some stuff for winter and for sidewalks, and get back with staff also about additional ways that we can get the word out to people about shoveling their sidewalks.
Okay, and thank you for that, Mayor. So I think I heard you say Reggie did get additional staff?
Yes, I think either last year or the year before he got I believe it was 2 additional staff, although I'm not exactly sure what their roles are.
And we don't have Reggie here today, do we? No, we do not. Okay, well, that sounds good then, Mayor.
Russ, that's Rachel. I think that one of those staff is Robert, who deals only with dark sky issues.
Right, and the other staff is Kevin, right?
Correct.
So there's Reggie, Kevin, and Robert exclusively deals with dark sky issues.
Correct.
Right, okay. Okay, do any of the commissions go ahead.
Can I hop in here real quick? So what I will plan to do is follow up on everything we just talked about and then present it to you all, probably in an email ahead of time, but also at the next meeting.
Excellent. That sounds good, Mayor.
And Mayor Daggett, Jamie Martinez and I are co-liaisons for sidewalk enforcement and parking violations, ADA parking violations. And so I've been in contact with Reggie. I just have not since Christmas because I'm not feeling really well.
Okay, I'm sorry you're not feeling well. And Christmas is only a couple of days past, so don't beat yourself up about that.
Thank you.
Do any of the other commissioners have any questions for the mayor? Okay, well, thank you for that report, Mayor. And we appreciate you working on this issue for us. Okay, and has Keith Beckett been able to join, or I don't
He's
see
Yes,
him.
he
in.
did.
Oh, he is in.
He's in.
Glad to have you with.
Affirmative, I'm in here.
Good, thanks, Keith. Glad to have you in here. Okay, next up, we have time for liaison participation. Mariah, do you have anything to share with us today?
Yeah, so Lisa's on vacation, but she'll be back for the next commission meeting. I just wanted to do a quick reminder to try to set agenda items during the meetings. And then that way, after the work session, you and I can just kind of finalize everything. And then we want to make sure that we're giving plenty of notice to any guests that we're inviting to present. So I would say let's try to give them like a month or so. A lot of them have really hectic schedules. And then also, as we're setting the agendas, we want to make sure that we're giving them plenty of time to give their presentation. So keep in mind, we only have 1 hour at the meetings. So things might have to get moved or shuffled around just to make sure that we're giving everyone adequate time to speak. That's all I had.
Right. And quite honestly, Mariah, I know that we have, who's coming in today to talk to us today? That would be Steph Santana.
Correct.
And I was unaware that Steph Santana was going to join us until I saw it in the agenda.
So sometimes we do get less notice. She did email me actually before the last meeting. We just didn't have time because we had already anticipated Public Works giving their presentation and speaking to you all. So I apologize for that, Russ. Next time I'll give you a heads up whenever I'm adding somebody to the agenda for you.
I understand. And yeah, no worries. That's all good. Mariah, thank you for your update as well. I know Stella Hollander, our transportation liaison, is not able to be here today. But she did send me an email asking me to provide the update. And she just reports that the Wheelchair Accessible Vehicle Subcommittee, that would be the subcommittee of the Mobility Planning Council, but the Wheelchair Accessible Vehicle Subcommittee met in the middle of December and finalized a one-page document to send out to all the taxi companies, Uber and Lyft drivers, and other spaces around Flagstaff to bring awareness of the lack of wheelchair accessible vehicles among taxi providers and on-demand transportation providers in Flagstaff. That has been a big discussion with the Mobility Planning Council and now with the Wheelchair Accessible Vehicles Subcommittee for probably the last 3 or 4 months. But it is something that the Mobility Planning Council is working on. And the Wheelchair Accessible Vehicles Subcommittee will be meeting again on January 30th. So hopefully some progress will be made there with regards to accessible vehicles for the city of Flagstaff. Next up, Joseph, we have you as our youth liaison here. Joseph, there you are.
Yep, guys. Good afternoon, everyone. I've got a couple of updates. We are planning to do our transition to our next fall, and as well as next spring. Mr. Randall, when is our next community of action meeting so we can talk about all that?
The community practice meeting is going to be the second week in January on Tuesday.
So next Tuesday or the week after that? You don't have to look right now, Mr. Randall. I was just trying to plan in advance for us personally. And then on December 29th, Mr. Randall, I am picking up my brand new wheelchair, my wheelchair that stands up.
Excellent, Joseph. And Joseph, with regards to the community practice team, they're looking at planning possibly or potentially a youth transition fair in the spring as well. Is that right?
Yes, that's what I just said. And then one next fall as well.
Okay,
in 2024. And I'm in 2025 for March, for spring.
okay. Sounds good though, Joseph. Thanks for the update.
No problem.
Okay. Our sidewalk liaison, Jamie Martinez, is not here today, but our parking liaison, Rachel Simakundo, is here. Rachel, do you want to provide us with an update?
At the work session, I said that they're working on vetting me to do, I think, the civilian aid training for parking liaison. So I have not heard anything back. And then Reggie and I spoke, and I think that him and Jamie and I are in pretty much alignment with what he wants and what he expects from us and what we want to give him. And so I think, Russ, did you get the letter from Jamie to read?
I did, and we'll
Okay,
I'll,
so
I'll,
that will,
I'll hold on to that for our action item, but
so that's pretty much basically what we're doing is presenting what we expect that our roles are, and then the commission will vote if those are reasonable things that we can do.
sounds good, Rachel. And Jamie regretted that he could not be here today. He is visiting family. Which is a good thing to do during the holiday season. Time for public participation. Do we have any members of the public who wish to present today? Mariah, help me. I don't see anybody. We don't see any hands up, right?
No, I don't. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Mr. Arnold, anytime you want me to present anything, let me know. I'm not afraid to do anything.
I appreciate that, Joseph. I think we're ready to move on to our reports and discussion items today. And our first discussion item is a discussion of holding a 2-hour meeting as a commission rather than a 1-hour meeting. And also possibly meeting once a month rather than twice a month. And I think Stacy Fobar, you bring that to us today, right?
Yes, thank you, Russ. Chair Randall, we would like to discuss having a one meeting a month rather than two for 2 hours each instead of one. That's how the majority of our commissions are run at this time. I've noticed that you all tend to. Oh, thank you, Rachel. Yes, they were also sent through Mariah from Mayor Daggett. We would like to see you all have more time to discuss items. As is, it feels like your agendas are pretty jam-packed and that you unfortunately don't get through all of them all the time. So we want to ensure that you have plenty of time to discuss. And then also, I know that we would like to make sure that we have full participation if we can. So the things that you can do, of course, you can keep it at the same time once a month, or you can look at different times. I know that Chair Randall told us that there was an issue with some people needing to do this over their lunch hour. A lot of our commissions meet at 4 or 4:30 to accommodate people's schedules so that they can take off a little early from work versus trying to take 2 hours in the middle of the day.
Thank you, Stacy. So, I mean, the floor is open for discussion on that, commissioners. I know, probably my first 8 or 9 years on the commission, and then when I served as youth liaison, this commission held one meeting a month, which was a lunchtime meeting, and it was 1-hour meeting. Now we do hold 2 meetings a month, 2 1-hour meetings a month, one which is a work session, the third Wednesday, and then our formal meeting, the fourth Wednesday. Go ahead. I see somebody has their hand up there.
Keith has his
He's
hand up.
Go
I
ahead.
was just wondering how a 2-hour meeting would work for like city staff. I personally work from Monday through Thursday. usually 8 o'clock till 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, depending on what time frame of the year we're in. But I'm just wondering, city staff would be available at 4:30 or 5:30 or something like that. So that's one of the reasons I think we did have things going at lunchtime. So that's my only comment on that. I could go either way. I will make time at work if I have to.
Thanks, Keith. Commissioners, okay, Sarah.
All right, not sure why my camera's not coming on. Sorry about that, guys. I would be amenable, there we are. I would be amenable to doing a later meeting if we go to the 2 hours. I guess my question is, because during the day, 2 hours is a little much for me to pull off out of my workday. But if I could scoot it on the end, that makes it a little bit easier. And then would this be like a full meeting and getting rid of the work session? Is that what I'm understanding? Or am I understanding it wrong?
I'm not sure, actually, to answer that question, Sarah. I don't know. I'm not sure how 1 2-hour meeting is better as far as getting our work done than, or how 2 1-hour meetings would be better than 1 2-hour meeting as far as getting our work done. It seems to me 2 hours is 2 hours. And I have to say, as a person who's mostly retired, I have a lot of flexibility in my day that folks who are working might not, frankly. But go ahead, Sarah. Or Stacy, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I know Sarah had her hand, Rachel has her hand up as well. But I will just quickly jump in and let you know that there are at least 10 other commissions that do meet at 4 or 4:30. So we are, as staff, prepared for that. And then additionally, I think we were envisioning having 1 meeting a month for the 2 hours, just to cut down on the disruption to you all's personal time and to try and ensure that as many people could be at the meeting as possible. Because I know it's a lot easier to step away once a month from the boards that I'm involved with, rather than stepping away from your job twice a month.
Okay, thanks, Stacy. Rachel?
I personally kind of like the idea of moving it to later. I don't know about the 2-hour thing, just because I think if it was done later in the afternoon for 2 hours, but my suggestion would be that we just started doing these work sessions, and I think that we're seeing a little bit of leeway in the agenda right now. And so I think that maybe we table this and come back to it in, say, 3 months to see how the work session is going.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Susan?
Yes, thank you. I have 2 questions. One being fairly new to the commission. Is there an annual cycle that we're working on? Is there like a commission year start?
Susan, there is not.
Okay, thank you. The second thing is, I agree with Rachel. We just established this new working session structure, and I agree. I think it works as it currently is happening. And I would second Rachel's suggestion of keeping this schedule for the next couple of months and then coming back to this sometime this spring.
Thank you, Susan. I think Sarah raised her hand again. Yes, Sarah?
Mayor Daggett has her hand raised also.
Please go ahead and take Sarah's comments or questions first.
Sure thing. Sarah?
As far as the 2 hours versus the 2 1-hour meetings, I know for me personally, I have only been able to make it to maybe one additional work session. And I think on my end of things, I feel a little out of the loop when I come into, even when reading the messages. So being able to have 1 2-hour session to get it done is easier on my schedule, and I could be more present as a commission member. But I understand that's I can only speak to my situation. And I hear what you're saying about they just started, but it's also on my end of things, it's one more thing I'm not getting to discuss and getting to be part of, because that's something that's more difficult for me to accommodate in my schedule.
Sure. Thank you for that, Sarah. And Mayor Daggett?
Thank you. And Sarah said it perfectly. That's my feelings about it as well. Is it's much easier to schedule a 1 2-hour meeting. And I also think it helps with when we need to have city staff here presenting, so that we don't ever run into staff putting the meeting on their calendar and then we don't get to them because we don't have enough time and then they have to reschedule. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Mayor. And Rachel?
Is this the appropriate time to make a motion
Oh.
to table this until March?
No, this is just a discussion item. So we can't really turn that into an action item at the meeting, but this is what I'm going to ask the commissioners to do, because I hear a lot of discussion on both sides, right? So let's do this. For January, let's plan on working the work session and working our regular meeting in January, but let's have a discussion of this, or continued discussion at our work session, and then we will have it as an action item at our next formal meeting in January. Does that sound all right for everyone?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so just in the interest of
just to jump in real quick without having to raise my hand real quick. I will not be here for the regular meeting in January. I will be down in Tucson at the Gem and Mineral Show buying stuff for the Flagstaff Gem and Mineral Society. So I won't be able to make that, but if it comes to a vote, I'm okay either way.
Thank you for that, Keith. Okay, so we'll plan on having more discussion at our work session. I think it's on January 17th. And then we will have more discussion and actually have it as an action item for January 24th. And then next up, we have Ms. Steph Santana to talk to us about engineering and active transportation code updates.
Hi, Chair. Thank you for having us. Martin is actually going to present on this. Again, thank you for having us.
You're welcome. And Martin, how long do you need to present today? Like an hour or?
No. Probably about 2.5 feet. Probably, I think we can do this in about 10 minutes.
Excellent. Thank you, Martin. Absolutely.
All right.
For you, it will work.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. My name is Martin Entz. I'm the multimodal transportation planner for the city. You've met Steph. Steph is the senior transportation engineer for the city. Also with us is Paul Mood, who's the city engineer. All three of us and more on city staff have been working on these amendments. I'm gonna share my screen if that's okay. This item is a series of amendments to the city's engineering standards, and I've got a little bit of background information to explain what they are and how we got here and how we move forward. And then I've got, we'll go through the amendments themselves, and I'll go as quick as I can, but please, if you have questions or comments, just interrupt me in the middle of it. You don't have to wait till the end to have your questions. And everybody can see my screen, I take it? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So
yes.
First, a bit on engineering standards. It's technically Title 13 of City Code, And they are basically detailed guidelines for how we build things. And that can range anything from fire hydrants to water valves, to streets, to sidewalks, to curb ramps. The engineering standards include both text as well as standard details or drawings. And the intent is to make sure that stuff is properly built for the city to take over. So you can imagine if a sidewalk were built and it only has a couple inches of concrete instead of 4 inches, it'll end up cracking. Or if curb ramps aren't built properly, they won't be accessible, and they won't meet ADA. So we, the city, provide details to contractors and developers on how to build things. Those things are all codified in the engineering standards. For the proposal amendments that are before you today, and we don't have a copy of them here right now, but I've asked Mariah if she can send out the full batch of them to you so you can see them for yourselves. I'm going to pretty much just summarize them here instead of going through them in a great amount of detail. Anyway, the amendments today, there are two sources. One is a series of minor changes and administrative changes that have been being collected since the last amendments, which I think were probably about 5 years ago now. And the second source is we have done a comprehensive review of the engineering standards to make sure that any of the things in the engineering standards are in compliance or support the active transportation master plan. So basically, we did a thorough review to make sure that it supports walking or biking, and then proposed a series of changes where we could make things better or tweak things a little bit. And that's kind of what we're looking at today. And we've divided our amendments for the ATMP into 3 different levels. What you're seeing today are the easiest, so the ones that can be done most quickly. The second set, which we'll begin working on over the next year, are the ones that require a little bit more information or more discussion internally before they're ready to move forward. And then finally, there's a third set, which are more significant and more fundamental changes, which we'll begin working on, but which will take a little bit longer for us to work through. So again, what you're seeing today are kind of the things that we thought we could do most readily. A bit about the process for updating the engineering standards. We've already had a lot of discussion internally with different divisions within the city to make sure that everybody is okay and has a chance to review them. We are at the second bullet point here where we're making a series of presentations to different city commissions who are interested. For example, Steph, Paul, and I have gone to BAC, Bike Advisory Committee, the Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and the Transportation Commission to let them know about the changes. We have planned outside involvement of a number of groups who are interested, including the Chamber, Econa, builders, developers, architects, and engineers. Since this affects their work directly, they need to have a chance to review the changes before we adopt them. The next 2 bullet points are kind of internal reviews that the council has asked us to perform for any changes to city code. They include impacts on housing and building costs, which, as you know, is a sensitive subject in Flagstaff. And then second, review on our carbon neutrality goals. So are we moving forward with carbon neutrality, or are we moving away from it with the things that we're proposing? And our schedule has us going to council for final consideration in March or early April. And ultimately, it's the council that adopts the changes to the engineering standards. So now I'll pause to see if there are any questions about the content or the process. And if there are none, I'll take you kind of through a quick outline of some of the changes. These are not all the changes, but I highlighted the ones that I think are most relevant to the work of this commission. So first of all, under construction traffic control plans, we have clarified that traffic control plan is required whenever construction affects sidewalks, bikeways, or foot trails. We require bicycle and pedestrian accommodation through a work zone, and if that's not possible, to have a detour ready. And the new amendments will require an accessible route through work zones in compliance with ADA. Actually, there are new guidelines at the federal level for how to accommodate accessible routes through work zones. We are in the process of kind of working through those and may make changes based on what's required at the federal level.
Martin, it's Rachel.
Yes, Rachel.
Would it be possible for you to send me those new ADA federal guidelines?
Yes, I think we had talked about them at the last meeting, and I don't know that we have a date set, but I've agreed to come and give you kind of a synopsis of what those changes are.
Okay. I just want to know that I'm brushed up on it as I'm working with Reggie.
Yeah, I think we're looking at one of your meetings in January, although we've not confirmed what date that would be.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Second ones have to do with manholes and water valves, and we simply ask that when it's feasible that they be located outside of sidewalks, bikeways, foot trails, in the public right of way. And generally the manholes and water valve boxes are flush at the level of the sidewalk. But over time, a gap can develop, things can settle unevenly. So whenever possible, we like to have them located outside of sidewalks or foot trails. It just makes for a better walking and rolling surface overall. Next section is on street standards. And here, I'll take a moment just to explain that there are two different types of curbs generally. One is called vertical, and it's just what it sounds like. It has a vertical face up against the edge of the road. The other one is called rolled curb, and it is a much more gradual transition, so there's not something vertical. The engineering standards are proposing an amendment that would allow rolled curb in certain circumstances, principally when there are a lot of driveways and they're spaced closely together. This helps developers in the city avoid a situation where we're taking out long pieces of curb to put in driveways. So you have kind of a curb, a driveway, a curb, a driveway. Whereas if it's rolled curb, that serves as a driveway and a curb. Kind of the caution or the thing that we have to watch out for is where we have rolled curb, it makes it easier for vehicles to put wheels off the curb and onto the sidewalk if it's located in proximity adjacent to the street. So there are some benefits to it in terms of construction costs, but we have to be careful that we're not encouraging vehicles to park on sidewalks because they're no longer constricted by a vertical curb. I will say that in the kind of the sort of developments where we would use rolled curbs, the driveways are so frequently spaced and take up so much room that there's really not a lot of room for parking on the street outside of that. So the concern about having vehicles park in the sidewalk is somewhat mitigated.
Martin?
Yes.
I think the concern that I have as far as disability access, access for everybody, those rolled curbs are encouraging people to put their tires up on the sidewalk unless there is that space, and I don't remember what you guys call it, that space in between the sidewalk and the street.
Right.
So if you abut the sidewalk to the street, it's encouraging people to then block the sidewalk.
Yes, and we refer to that space as the parkway between the sidewalk and the curb. It's required as part of engineering standards. I know there are circumstances where it's a discussion item, where space is constrained or there are other conditions. We always argue that it be included because the parkway serves a number of important functions. So I think, maybe as we think about this moving forward, the consideration of whether a parkway can be provided or not would be important, it would seem, in determining whether rolled curb is appropriate for an area. Now it does, I'll go back to that page. Around cul-de-sacs, we don't require a parkway, and one of the amendments would allow rolled curb, but I think it's probably a situation where the driveways are spaced so frequently that there would be very little on-street parking available. But it's something that we'll have to monitor moving forward.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
And yeah, thank you for your comments. That is what you said is exactly the concern or the issue that we need to watch out for. So the next set of amendments are in chapter 13-14, and relate to foot trails, ped and bike facilities. And here we've taken a lot of text that was formerly part of the foot's drawing and moved it into the text part. So kind of moving moving from the drawing to the text without necessarily changing how we're doing things. There are a few amendments which I've got highlighted here. They include either new or clarified guidance for how wide trails should be, what shoulders look like, clearance both horizontal and vertical from the trail, grades and cross slopes, design speeds, horizontal and vertical curves, basically things that tell us what a trail looks like when it's built. On the issue of grades, the new standards would limit to a maximum grade of 8%. That's essentially a measure of how steep it is. It does allow some relief if it just is impossible to meet that 8% grade. Currently, we have foot trails that the way they were built in the old days regularly exceed 10%. It makes it difficult for all users when the trail gets too steep. But as you know, we live in a hilly part of the country, and it's often a challenge to keep trail grades within reason. The fourth bullet point, we've included some provisions to make for both paved and aggregate trails to make them a little bit more sustainable and last longer. That includes a spec for the new foots mix that we've been using the last couple of years. That basically it's a smaller aggregate, so it packs down a little bit harder and provides more of a firm surface. It's what was used around Buffalo Park, for example. Generally provides a more firm surface for small wheels compared to the old mix, which tended to get a little bit loose and sandy. A few more things about foot, ped, and bike facilities. We've been using it for the last couple of years, but we want to include it in the standards, and that is where we have expansion or contraction joints in a concrete trail. And the standards basically make them smoother for small wheels. So everything from a bicycle to a walker to a stroller to a shopping cart to a wheelchair, we'll find it a little bit easier. And contraction and expansion joints, when you go down the sidewalk, are basically the thing that the lines every few feet that go ba-bump, 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 if you're on a bike, for example. And the smoother we make them, the better that works for everyone. There's a requirement that we have curb ramps whenever a trail meets a street. We provide guidance where safety fencing should be used. And we have a new kind of table for a minimum width of a tunnel based on the length of the tunnel. So as tunnels get longer, they should get wider as well, just for more comfort. And I'll pause. Rachel, you have a question?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to let, it's significant to this commission, but ADA law is that the ramp run should not exceed 8.33%. So your 8% is spot on, Martin. Great job.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. There's a bit more. I think when you have a ramp, it has to meet certain characteristics, and we'll have to explore that to make sure that we can do that.
Thanks, Martin.
And Martin, I have a quick question too. I know when previous commission explored the Foots Trail, part of the discussion was where railings could be put in place. So is there any discussion here with regards to railings?
Not in this set, but I think we will look through the new accessibility guidelines for public rights of way and METCD and see if that provides any guidance for us. And I think that would probably fall into the one of the second category of changes.
Okay.
So something that requires a little bit more discussion, a little bit more information before we move it forward. There may be other changes related to that as well. Okay, the next section is under the intersection design requirements, and here we added a provision to require signal cabinets, traffic signal poles, pedestrian push buttons, and streetlight poles to be located outside of sidewalks, bikeways, foot trails, accessible routes, and curb ramps. And this generally isn't a problem. I think we're more careful about reviewing those things, but this just codifies it. It makes it an enforceable standard for us.
Hey,
Same with
Martin.
traffic signs. We require that they be located outside of pedestrian and bike facilities.
Hey, Martin, going back to that previous slide,
Mhm.
Are there any recommendations or requirements for hearing disabled people?
There are. ProWag has a whole bunch of new information on accessible pedestrian signals, or APS,
Okay.
which is
I'll check Pro-
confusing in Arizona because APS means something different to us. But and when we talk about what's in the new ProWag, we'll spend a little bit of time looking at how the accessible pedestrian signals will work.
Okay. I just downloaded ProWag. I guess I need to get off my butt and read it now.
Oh yeah, you're more than welcome to. You can wait for our discussion as well and go through it at that point.
Thank you, Martin.
And that's new, by the way, that at the federal level there hasn't been guidance before on how accessible pedestrian signals should work. And I think over the years there's been a couple different varieties that have different. Some make different sounds, some work differently, some provide different information, and now it's all been kind of standardized.
Thanks for the clarification. I do appreciate it.
So the next section refers to essentially the stripes and markings on the pavement on streets. We simply require that they be in compliance with the manual and uniform traffic control devices. Again, generally we haven't had issues with this. We just want to make sure that it's clear. That all of the sections that I just went through are part of the text, and the next couple are going to refer to standard drawings. The first is on bus pullouts, and here we specify that a foot trail should go around the back of a bus shelter, just to avoid potential conflicts between foot users and bus patrons waiting for their bus. Next one is for an exit entrance ramp for bicycles, and this is where bikes go from an on-street facility like a bike lane to an off-street facility like a foot trail.
I see that Mariah has her hand up.
Hi, I just wanted to let everyone know where we're standing on time. We're coming up on about 5 minutes left in the meeting.
Thanks,
Okay,
Mariah.
appreciate that. I think we're just about done with these. The old standards had a driveway pedestrian ramp combination, which was difficult in terms of meeting ADA, so it's being removed. In other words, where we have a driveway, it's sometimes doubled as the sidewalk ramp, and it was hard to make a good sidewalk ramp. Section on pedestrian push buttons, we have a little diagram in there, but with the new ProWag and MUTCD having just come out, there is a diagram in those documents as well. So we'll take ours out and just refer to the federal guidance. Rapid flashing beacons are the pedestrian crossing aids that you see at a couple different places around town. Maybe the closest one is along Butler at Humphreys by the conference center. We're essentially adding a flashing light on a mast arm over the street to make it more visible to vehicles. Intersection striping, we have a pattern that we use for crosswalks. This just specifies that if the crosswalk is longer in distance, that more crosswalk markings be used. And that's it for the changes. Again, I'll ask if Mariah can send out the actual list of changes so you can review it. But in the meantime, I'm happy to answer any questions or take any comments.
Okay. Hey, thank you for sharing that information, Martin. we appreciate you and the city engineering staff's work on that, and especially with regards to accessibility and inclusiveness. And then, Martin, you are planning on coming back to talk to us, I think, at our meeting on the 17th, isn't that right?
Yes, January 17th.
I think, yes.
Yeah.
And then, will you also be talking to us at that meeting about Prop 419 and walk-friendly communities?
Yes, I can. Prop 419 is the transportation sales tax. So it raises money for a variety of transportation projects, including ped and bike facilities. And every year we go through a process of preparing a capital improvements plan. And so I can share some of the details on Prop 419 and give you an idea of what projects we plan to fund with those proceeds.
Excellent. And then I know some of the commissioners wanted to talk to you about walk-friendly communities too. So I'm not sure. Rachel, is Martin going to talk with the working group?
Martin, are you able to attend a meeting at 5 o'clock on the 29th, this coming Friday?
Not this Friday. I'll be out of town.
Can you do 2 Fridays after that? I think it's not the 5th. I think it would be around the 11th or so.
That one I could do, yeah.
Okay. Then I'll make sure that when I send the Zoom invite out that I include you in that.
Okay.
Thanks, Martin. We sincerely do appreciate everything you do.
Okay.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. Just to move on quickly. First, I would like the commission to actually vote to approve or not to, but to approve our support and our assistance with the Snow Heroes program that Stephen Thompson presented to us a couple times. So at this time, the floor will entertain a motion
I'll make a motion.
to approve our support and assistance with that program. Is there a second to that motion?
I will second.
Do we have any discussion on that item? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
I will third it. Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
I will
Aye.
third it.
Any opposition or abstention? No, that passes unanimously. Thank you, folks. And then next, we have talked about our 2 liaison positions. So I think we all pretty much understand what those 2 positions are about at this time. Jamie Martinez, who has been appointed as the Sidewalk Code Liaison, did send me an email, and he wrote that he sees that position as a position that will help monitor and ensure the maintenance of a safe environment for Flagstaff pedestrians with disabilities by serving as an advocate for the cleaning of public sidewalks from cinders, gravel, ice, snow, and vegetation that serve as impediments for safe travel. The Sidewalk Code Compliance Liaison and the Parking Liaison will work closely together to prioritize sidewalk and parking accessibility concerns within the city of Flagstaff and elevate these important concerns to the appropriate staff personnel. And then, Rachel, do you wish to speak to what you see in addition to that, perhaps specifically with the parking liaison position?
Sorry, I do have, as soon as I can get a hold of either Chief Musselman or his PIO, I will have more clarification because this is a position that this commission had a long time ago. And I wanted to talk to Chief Musselman, but primarily what we've talked about is ADA violations and citations based on ADA violations. So that's where I'd like to focus, and that's where I see the parking liaison making the biggest difference.
So you will actually be going out into the community and basically looking for and then reporting ADA violations?
Correct. And then at the same time, I will be looking for violations, the code compliance, once a week, Jamie will send them a list of concerns, and then they will be prioritized. And then either as soon I can't do it until the civilian aid training is done, but there will either be, I know that the city council had said education, citation. And so as I'm able to, and as Reggie says, I'll probably be going and talking to business owners and saying, you know, here's this, and it shows you have to have sidewalks cleared, you know, just all of those things with business owners and potentially residents. But that will also be part of what Jamie and I do together. But I'll be listing the addresses.
Okay. Sounds good. And Rachel, you'll actually be able to do citations then as a civilian aide.
Correct. That's the reason I have to do the training, is they teach you, and then they teach you if you get called to court what you have to do.
And Rachel, thank you for doing that. That's going to be some time, but we appreciate you doing that. At this time, the chair would entertain a motion for the commission to approve what Jamie mailed us and what Rachel clarified for us orally relative to the roles and responsibilities of our two liaison positions.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that one.
Joseph, you actually can't. You're a liaison, you're not a commissioner.
I'll second.
Okay. I'll do something to the rest.
That's all good, Joseph. It has been moved and seconded to approve the clarification and I guess the description of the roles and responsibilities of our two liaison positions. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Do we have any opposition or abstention? That motion passes unanimously. And then, you know, we continue to have discussion about increasing the diversity, I guess, of information that goes out to the public relative to sidewalk ordinance enforcement and education, I think. And we know we have what code compliance presently uses, and then we also know that we have information that Commissioner Becker put together. And then we've had a lot of discussion too about whether we should submit the new information from Commissioner Becker to the council for their approval. I'm not sure what the feeling of the commission is at this point. Rachel?
I think that we should at least hear from the city council on what they think about Keith's stuff. And then if they like it, if they want it changed a little bit, then let the council decide and let's just push it forward to them.
So you're saying we should submit it to the council?
You know, we're not making any changes at city council that has to decide. And the worst we can hear is no. So I think we should, I think that we should move forward with it.
Okay, so is that a motion, Rachel?
It is, I'm sorry.
Okay, so Rachel moved that the information that Keith has put together should be submitted to City Council for their review for potential use, but for their review for potential use. And I will actually second that motion for Rachel. Sarah, I see your hand is up.
I was just going to ask to table it as we are past the 1 o'clock deadline and running through these action items without much time to discuss.
I understand that, Sarah. We have had a lot of discussion, however, regarding this one item. But
Sarah, would you be comfortable with us just doing this, and then we'll have to, I guess, work on everything else later?
Well, I would just say, like, the motion is out and seconded, so that's fine. I mean, the next is to vote on it, so.
What we're doing is we're voting whether or not to submit it to the city council for their review. Obviously, we don't get to make decisions about whether or not the city actually uses this information. We just submitted, we're voting whether or not to submit it to city council for their review.
So did we skip then C, the vote on approval of sidewalk enforcement education, or are you combining C and D?
I kind of.
That's what this is.
Yes. This would be the sidewalk enforcement education.
Can we vote on the motion?
I'm just, is there any other questions, any other discussion? All those in favor of the
Sarah?
motion? Oh, yes.
Sarah, are you comfortable moving forward, Sarah, or do you want to have more discussion at a later time?
That's fine. The motion's on the table. Let's vote. I'm good with that.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay. I love Zoom meetings, but our teams, but okay, all those in favor of the motion to submit, and really we're looking at 3 pieces of information. One is an educational pamphlet, one is an educational door hanger, and one is a adhesive or a sticker or some kind of item that could go in a garbage can and or on, under the windshield of a car. But again, we're voting to submit these new pieces of information, educational information, to the city council for their review. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Am I allowed to say aye as well?
Do we have anyone opposed to this motion?
I was just going to abstain.
And we have 1 abstention. Oh,
And one opposition.
okay, 1 nay and 1 abstained. So the motion passes. Thank you, folks.
Sarah and Susan, I'm available either by phone call, Zoom, however you need to meet. I'm available so that I can explain any questions you have, if you want them, and I'll put my phone number. Can I put my phone number in the chat, Stacy?
Rachel, I don't have any questions. I've been at every meeting. I think to be honest, we're repeating work that's already been done.
Okay. And Sarah, if you want to reach out to me, I'm available.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, folks, and I'm sorry for keeping you late. The date of our next meeting, we have our work session on the 17th, and then our next formal meeting will be on the 24th. As far as our agenda for the next meeting, I know we have Martin coming in to talk to us about ADA and also 419 and the Walkable Communities Program. I know we have invited Gino to come in from Parks and Rec, and he's going to talk to us about the improvements that have been made up at Buffalo Park. And we're also going to talk about whether we can actually see about those wood chips that are underneath the accessible exercise stations, and if something different can be done there. I know we have Mayor Daggett going to report back to us with regards to a number of items. And then do we have other agenda items that we should be discussing at our next meeting?
Mr. Randall,
Sarah?
we could, sorry, Sarah.
Yes. I would like to put on our radar as a commission, I don't know if we want to have a discussion point about adaptive or therapeutic recreation from the city of Flagstaff. If we want to start that discussion, it's something that the city used to have and no longer does. And I feel like there's a pretty decent need for that in our community. So I would like to start some discussion on that.
Thank you for that, Sarah. I would too. I would very much like to start discussion on that. So we will include that on our agenda for our next meeting. And then, of course, we also need to be thinking about how we hold our meetings, whether it's 1 meeting a month for 2 hours and what time of day that might be, or if we're going to continue with our current structure of when we hold meetings. So that will also be an item for our next meeting as well.
And Mr. Randall, we could also keep talking about the transition fair as well for next fall and spring.
Yep, we sure can, Joseph.
if you wanted to. I don't know if that gets annoying for everyone else, but
Hey, thanks, everybody. Is there anything else that should go on our agenda for our next meeting? Okay, thanks, folks, for a productive meeting today.
saying how much the bills are terrible.
And I'm adjourning the meeting at 1:13.
Thank you, guys.
Happy New Year.